Hello, this is a homily for the feast of the presentation of the Lord. As you know, the feast deals with one of the great events in Jesus' early life, and that is when his parents take him up to the temple to fulfill all the prescriptions of the law for a firstborn male child. And so, to introduce this, we have the text from Malachi chapter 3, and here you have the Lord announcing, "I'm sending my messenger, and there will come to the temple the Lord whom you seek, and he is like the refiner's fire." So, again, the temple is the absolute focal point of all that is going to go on in Israel for the longest time, and yet later Jesus will become the new temple. But for this point, he is, or the church is referring this prophecy of Malachi to him and saying that he will come to the temple. Then in the psalm, you have one of the, what is known as the enthronement psalms. This is kind of a labeling system to try and group the psalms together. And it's Psalm 24, "Lift up, O gates, your lintels, the King of glory, that the King of glory may come in." And obviously much more in the same vein. But what you have is the recognition that God will be enthroned in his temple. It had happened at the institution of the temple, Solomon's temple, and the recognition was that this was a way of celebrating, because this is a moment of great joy when God comes into his temple, literally giving the stamp of approval to the temple, and at the same time coming close to his people. And of course we can see all kinds of hints of what is going to happen in Jesus Christ when God comes among his people as a man. And that is why the second reading was chosen, and that is Hebrews 2. And Hebrews 2 says, "Since the children share in blood and flesh, Jesus likewise shared in them." He had to become like his brothers and sisters. So we are now getting very clear that Jesus is literally walking the path of an infant who is born into the Jewish people and is doing, actually having done for him by his parents, all the various rituals that are involved in bringing a firstborn son literally into the faith of the Jews. The gospel then is Luke chapter 2, when the days were completed for their purification. This is the purification of the couple after the child is born. Then they took Jesus up to Jerusalem to present him to the Lord. Again, a routine part of the ritual of life. You've got in the psalm this kind of magnificent arrival of the Lord coming to his temple, so powerful that the lintels have to expand to give him space to come in. And yet this man is a little baby at this point, and the rule is every male that opens the womb shall be consecrated to the Lord. And immediately after that, they meet two of the faithful Jews. They come across Simeon on the one hand, and then Anna on the other. And what we find all the way through the history of the Jews, no matter how many people lost the faith, and there were always some who did, there were always equally some who held the faith no matter what. And so you have Simeon, somebody who is righteous and devout, and literally the Spirit brings him to the temple because he knows something glorious is going to happen. And when the parents brought in the child, he took him in his arms and blessed God. He then celebrates the fact that he can then go in peace. The old man has been told, maybe even long ago, that you will see the Savior of Israel coming. And so he sees this little baby and is filled with the need to reveal that this is the one who is a light for revelation to the Gentiles and glory for your people Israel. Because again, glory falls upon Israel because the Savior has come from Israel. Secondly, then, you have the prophetess Anna, a very elderly lady who stays in the temple praying and fasting, and she too celebrates, gives thanks to God, and spoke about the child to all who were awaiting the redemption of Jerusalem. And in this case, Jerusalem stands in for the whole of Israel. Then they fulfilled the prescriptions of the law and returned to Galilee, to their own town. The child grew and became strong, filled with wisdom, and the favor of God was upon him. Again, a recognition that God is literally walking the path of growth and development that every human being will walk, or does walk. And so you have this repeated emphasis on the fact that Jesus is this close to us. He has become one of us. And this is the big part of the celebration of the feast today. Thank you.